There is a complete breakdown in the interpersonal communication across the United States and in much of the world. It was inevitable that at some point I would have to do a second take of something. Today was that day. I did this video. I did it. And I cooked as well. Well, but it wouldn't post. So here we are again. My first retake. And it's all about something that's very important to me. And shout out to Alexis Wolf with an E on the end for sort of motivating me to actually do a post that wasn't political or about Dubai. Right? So basically, I believe there's a complete breakdown in the communication in the interpersonal world of the United States, right? Not the professional world. The professional world is doing great. We've got Teams, we've got Slack, we've got the ability to communicate with people we can't stand without ever having to look into their eyes, right? Communication in the workplace has become extremely efficient, extremely effective. So, we don't have a problem there. Where we do have a problem is how we communicate with one another. And it's not just people we disagree with. We have a breakdown of communication with people that we do agree with, right? We could have all the same viewpoints, but you're offended by the way I say it. I can't tell you how many times someone's been yelling at me talking about, like, it doesn't matter if we agree. I don't like the way you're saying it. I've heard that from men, women. I'm like, are you serious? So because I'm a little stoic in my delivery, you want to go to war? I mean, it's ridiculous, right? But that's real. So even with people that I agree with and that you agree with and that others agree with, you guys can have a breakdown in communication due to emotional reasons, right? Interpretations, right? Offendability. I personally am unoffendable. I have to allow myself to be offended in order to be offended. And then why would I get offended? What's the point? It's just an emotional response with no gain. In the time that I can spend being offendable, I can rather figure out why we disagree. Maybe there's a difference in perspective. Maybe what I think is right, you think is peculiar. And what I think is peculiar, you think is right. Who's right or wrong? Is there right or wrong? It's all a matter of perspective. So if I'm not getting offended, that creates a new channel for communication. That creates a new channel for communication, right? I remove a barrier. I remove an obstacle. I'm not going to be offended by someone's communication. I'm going to figure out why they communicate that way. I'm going to think more about, like, oh, what's their perspective? I'm going to figure out how we can agree to disagree. Maybe I can change their viewpoint on something. Oh, baby. Now that is a sear. Caramelized onions. Very important. Very important. Salt the meat as a marinade in advance, and then put it in the fridge. That'll tenderize the meat. If you salt the meat and then put it in the pan, you're going to dry out the meat. Salt the fat. Don't salt the meat before you're putting it in the pan. If you are going to salt it while it's in the pan, it should be on the side that's finished and seared, which also should get some extra butter and love, because you don't want it to get dry on top when you're slow searing a nice filet mignon, right? You don't want that top to get dry and cool. You want it to stay moist but crispy. Butter it a little bit, and then salt that behind. Now, the next breakdown in communication. Generational. There's a breakdown in generational communication. And it's both sides' fault, but it's mostly my generation's fault. Now, I'm not that old. Some people think I'm like 50. I'm not. Some people think I'm 40. Well, I'm not anymore. So, I'm not that old, but I'm part of a previous generation. And I grew up in Cyprus in the 80s and 90s. So, like, that was like the 1800s with a TV channel and cars. I'm part of that previous generation, and I can say that we're mostly to blame for the breakdown in communication, because when I was growing up, a lot of adults acted like adults, even when they were being wild, right? Bob Hagen, one of the greatest guys I ever knew. Michelle Lepore, his wife, one of the greatest people, one of the greatest couples I ever hung out with or knew. They were not older, but old enough, 40s. And they would throw parties. When we were older students, maybe graduated, we might get to go and hang out at their parties. It was adult. They were wild, but they were adult wild, right? It's different. Today, my generation, 40s and up, 50s, they're out trying to do 20s wild. That's not a good look. And that's a breakdown in, like, the youth looking at you and being like, well, you're not a role model to look up to. You act just like me, you're just older. What have you fucking learned? You know what I mean? Like, we can step up a little bit as adults in our generation and also not be so jealous of the youth for having all the things that we wish we had that we did create but don't get to enjoy as young kids. And then that'll lead me to the youth. Guys, you didn't invent a bunch of the stuff you think you invented, all right? We built this world you live in. You were born with this stuff. We weren't. We had to think of it, watch sci-fi, look at weird things, and like be like, ooh, what if I try this? And then create technology, or in some cases, wait for the technology to come along so we could build it. And you guys inherited it. Feminism is from my yaya's generation. They started that stuff. They were still taking beatings. It's not new. You guys didn't create it. In fact, you didn't create much. Not yet. You're advancing things, but that's an advantage. And that's the point. You're supposed to be better than us as a result, right? Because you've inherited all these advancements, and now you get to take these former rough models that are now polished out and really evolve them. And you need us because we are the base of these things. So you do need to communicate with us. And also, you know, like just, it's good to have unks around, you know. We're fun. We still like to have adult fun. It's, you know, interpersonal communication. So show a little bit of respect for the generation that helped change things and create the world. That would be a great solution, a start, some of the solutions to improving interpersonal communication between adults, between youth, between people, our peers, all across the personal world. Stop being so offended. You're not being offended by them. No one can make you angry. You make you angry by allowing yourself to be affected and to react. Don't be offendable. It's a choice. Someone wants to be a malaka, let them be a malaka. Why do you have to be offended? In the pan. Oh, here it comes. Habibti. Then you have to let the steak sit. Now I'm kind of a blue guy, but I'm going to go a little bit past blue. Oh, Jesus. Caramelized onions. I mean, if I could do a cooking show, I would do the 35-minute professional cooking show. Are you a professional that works too much, works too hard, loves your work, doesn't get enough play, doesn't get enough time, eating out every night almost? Good food, but do you really want those sodium levels? No. What do? You cook with this guy right here, the little Greek. What are you thinking? 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 45 minutes? I've got it. And if you hang around, you'll get some weird opinions as well. Maybe that's what this should be. Maybe this should be a cooking show with opinions. It's just a lump of beautiful steak. Let's just look at the steam. It's just... And now comes the tomata, the anguri, the fresh ingredients on the side, a little sage bread. Deep. And just to prove that it's not all for show, a little blue, just the way I like it.